Can you next episode like not wear Teddy Fresh? Like one episode?
Sure.
Okay. It's like so a lot. Okay.
Is it a little hard to take her serious when she's calling you a predator one week and then trying to be cool with you the next week?
I absolutely never take anything Trisha Paytas says serious because she's a 2010 YouTuber. Like, she's a troll.
Can you love and hate somebody?
You could love somebody and hate what they've done. You can love somebody and hate what they're doing. You can love somebody and hate what they said. But no, you should love somebody. That is your blood and your flesh. That is family.
What if your family member is just a giant fucking asshole?
So can I do anything?
Normally I would shut this down completely and immediately, but I feel like it keeps coming up. Like, by the way, to me, actually it seemed like a really good point. I thought it made a difference for me because that's kind of an interesting way to look at it. Like, yes, let's all just say it. You're an asshole. Let's move on past that. He chose from that to just take this moment and send it to my mom. Like, look at what they're doing. Look how they're talking about me. And then my mom went into a whole breakdown, just like the endless cycle that he keeps doing with my family. And when Ethan saw that, then Ethan came on the show because it was the same day of the show and he was upset. And then that led to the rant that you guys saw of Ethan. Some of you guys were worried that maybe we will reconcile and you'll see us reuniting. So don't worry, because it's clearly not going to happen.
You could say that, but I love this giant fucking asshole that happens to be my brother.
This second part was inspired by Kat Tenbarge's criticism of Ethan, specifically using Trisha Paytas' Snark subreddit for information, but then judging people in H3 Snark and those who use it. But also, we have to keep in mind that this is about Ethan Klein and the allegations that he hates women. However, in order to give a fair analysis and rebuttal to these points, we unfortunately must rehash the past. After all, we cannot explore past behavior from H3 and the crew if we do not contextualize the forgotten memories of the past, of which there are many, things that even I didn't know about, things that I forgot about. But please keep in mind that while we can respect the mental illness and obstacles of people mentioned here, it doesn't excuse behaviors and it can certainly explain them, and we can have compassion for their plight and still maintain a wish for them to do better. And I would say, as a whole, I think things have gotten better in some ways. Let's get into it. Ethan and Trisha Paytas' Snark history. Jumping right off, Kat Tenbarge mentions in her article that a long time ago, back when Ethan used to stream in his basement for premium members, Ethan Klein accidentally streamed his internet browser, which showed that he had been looking at the Trisha Paytas Snark subreddit, the notorious r/Trishyland. Kat then goes on to say this in her article, saying, "It's interesting that Klein showed Trishyland on his channel. What she's saying is it's hypocritical of Ethan to be upset that the women he's suing, part 1, were recommended in the H3 Snark subreddit as a material replacement for watching his video on his channel, when r/Trishyland kind of did the same thing with Trisha's OnlyFans content, trying to circumvent her money by leaking her, I guess, OF stuff. Basically saying that Ethan is a proponent of Snark unless it's about him, which would be true. However, r/Trishyland wasn't promoted by H3 like she makes it out to be. Her words say he showed Trishyland on his channel, but what happened is that it was an accident because Ethan is a boomer with technology. Now, that isn't to say that the H3 crew and Ethan haven't used a Trisha Paytas Snark before, but it is well known that r/Trishyland was the worst of her snarks. And once again, Kat Tembaj not really reporting all too hard or trying all that much to prove her point or go that deep into it, but I'll do it because I don't know, who's the reporter here? I don't know. So it wasn't just Ethan who used Trisha Paytas' snark, it was kind of the H3 crew as well, and it also wasn't a secret either. Thanks to H3 Snark, I was on the search for an H3 episode where Olivia said Frenemies 2 is like home base. H3 Snark likes to quote her a lot with that. Of course, in the screenshot, they did not give which episode it was from, so immediately I was kind of like, there must be something more to this if they're not giving the episode it's from or even providing a clip. So I had to rummage through 4-year-old streams, scrubbing the timeline, searching through transcripts for videos that even had them, some of them didn't, until I came across a video that unfortunately did not have a transcript, which made it harder for me to find, and it was a 4-hour video that I watched. However, I was able to cross-reference what Olivia was wearing in this Snark screenshot. Sounds weird. And the orientation of her laptop, plus the framing of the shot, that had given me a few pointers of what to look out for, thank God. So, ladies and gentlemen, can I present to you the episode Ace Family's House Story Full Analysis, H3 TV number 18, which was, I guess streamed on November 30th of 2021. So now I can provide you the context for their discussion of the Frenemies 2 subreddit, of which there is a lot that is said about it. So first off, there was a Frenemies subreddit which was created by Trisha stans who didn't like the H3H3 official subreddit and like the memes and stuff. The Frenemies subreddit was originally a place where people could have a focused discussion of the show, so it makes sense to separate the two.
So there was a Frenemies subreddit, which was created by Trisha stans, by the way, who didn't like our subreddit. They didn't like the memes and all shit, and they just wanted to discuss the show. So when the show ended, Frenemies, which was owned by like one of these mega Trisha stans, the Frenemies subreddit turned into like a Trisha hate subreddit. Or I don't know if you call it a hate subreddit, but it was just like all people criticizing Trisha, okay?
Sounds like
What the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. That's one way to put it. And so because it was owned by Trisha stan, they're like, fuck this, I'm just going to shut the subreddit down.
Ethan, however, wasn't really quite sure whether to describe the original Frenemies subreddit as one solely dedicated to hating on Trisha or not. So the original Frenemies subreddit wasn't really like a snark or considered a snark. Snark wasn't even used in the terminology here at all. But then it's mentioned that Frenemies 2 by Ethan, that it is definitely a Trisha hate subreddit.
And then they created Frenemies 2, which is alive and well. Frenemies 2 is definitely a Trisha hate subreddit. There's really no other way to describe it. I mean, it's pretty wild. Some people here are really mean. I don't know what to say. Like, they've resulted to really mean name calling and like fat shaming and stuff.
The term snark, like I said, wasn't used by H3 back then. Do you think snark has different connotations to like a hate subreddit because that's the terminology they used back then? I don't really know. I think that snark definitely has its own feel to it. It has its own sort of, the word itself just emboldens this like specific thought in your head. But either way, a hate subreddit, it's still not a good look, right? Ethan even says some of the people in that subreddit are really mean, acknowledging that they did do fat shaming and name calling there. There's even an H3H3 Reddit post from fans saying that they're noticing it's getting worse, and the fans did not approve and even wanted to report it because it became such a kind of heinous place. Then, Frenemies 3 was made in retaliation to Frenemies 2. I don't know why I had an accent just about that. Dedicated to hating on Ethan, and this really just sums up that this is such like a, I feel like like in the grander scheme of everything, this feels like such a stupid like petty internet divorce, and I think ultimately what everyone wants is for everyone to just like divorce and go away from each other, separate from each other. I think that's really what needs to happen here. I think people need to stop talking about each other and people just need to move on. So, Frenemies 2 is no longer around, but Frenemies 3 does remain, and I do find that interesting. So anyway, what H3 Snark was saying, which I am presuming Kat Tembaj got her information from, is that there is an undeniable connection between the H3 show and using Trisha's Snark. It is true that H3 looked at her Snark, Frenemies 2, correct, and Ethan was looking at r/Trishyland on his personal computer. However, they then take these moments of H3 discussing the Snarks and try to twist into a thing where H3 was like a hard supporter of Trisha's worst Snark r/Trishyland. Not just implying, but straight up saying that H3 even encouraged people to continue harassing Trisha, signing off on their fat shaming and anti-Semitic posts about Moses. The biggest problem I see in this connection they're trying to make is that all the evidence of these particularly horrible posts regarding Trisha that they're trying to link H3 to are from Trishyland, not Frenemies 2. Trishyland was created in October of 2021 after Frenemies 2 was made. So there's a distinction between Frenemies 2 and Olivia joking it's like home base.
Wait, Frenemies 12 is us?
Yeah, we got it.
Let's go!
Wait, why
Frenemies
can't
12
I?
is the official one.
Hang on.
Go to Frenemies 12, people, since Frenemies 2 is closed.
Frenemies 2 is like home base. You know what I mean?
Why have they done this? Also, it doesn't even let me request. Only approved members can take part.
It's so unfortunate.
Oh, fuck. I fucked up.
Is very different to r/Trishyland, but it can be seen as historically true that Frenemies 2 did devolve into a really gross place towards its end, and was eventually shut down because the creator actually regretted that it stopped being a place about holding Trisha accountable for things that she had lied about, things that she had done, and it had just become a really hateful place. But I doubt it was as bad as Trishyland because the creator of Frenemies 2 seemed to have some kind of a backbone. I think people in the sub were really upset when it got locked down, but it seems like it was kind of for the best. But my proof that it's not as bad as r/Trishyland, I'm just gonna say Trishyland. My proof is that people like Kat Tembaj did do reporting on Trishyland, but not Frenemies 2. And maybe that's because you can't access anything about Frenemies 2 anymore. I found an archive on Reddit, but it was really like, there was like 5 things there, and it was like, okay. But in my opinion, Trishyland was probably just way worse due to a lack of moderation and ruling. It no longer was about holding Trisha accountable, just making fun of her and being malicious. The Trishyland subreddit made posts hoping that Trisha's kids would be taken away by CPS, and also encouraging others to make CPS tip-offs to further those horrible desires. It sounds a lot like the current Snark people who are targeting Ethan. While it is true that r/Trishyland was seen on Ethan's home desktop computer, when he accidentally leaked it during a member live stream, it doesn't mean that it's a glowing endorsement of their behavior. As I said, it was an accidental leak, not intended to be public. I think that if Ethan was someone posting to Trishyland, getting involved in it, then I think that would be a different story, but there's no evidence for it. Also, on archive.md, there's a post talking about Trisha and her alleged lying about accusing a dead teacher at her high school of raping her, which we can't get into right now, but the interesting part of this post is that it has 153 upvotes and says that Ethan himself needs to be held accountable for platforming Trisha and her racism. The sub wasn't necessarily blazing Ethan either, just because they didn't like Trisha. It's interesting. And as H3 Snark likes to imply that Ethan and the crew are down with Trishyland just because posts were put into the official Discord, there isn't any evidence to suggest these were encouraged just because they weren't immediately removed. There are posts ranging from January to March of 2022 though. It also appears that the H3 members squad on Discord, H3's official Discord for paid members only, did apparently have a channel called The Trisha Thread, which had posts from Trishyland put in there, but there isn't any context shown for how that was received in the Discord, who posted that stuff, or if they were ever even removed. I think providing that context would have been fairer, but Snark didn't do that, so we can only make assumptions about that. Which is why I feel the need to let you know about that, but I'm also not trusting them too hard on it, but I think you deserve to know that that was apparently a thing. So I can't verify for myself how true this channel is. Maybe it was originally created while Frenemies was ongoing, and so Trisha Stans had a place to be. I'm not really sure about that. If H3 or someone who was there could provide context or verification, I'd appreciate that, because it does seem pretty nefarious to have a Discord channel dedicated to talking about Trisha. But I get that people could also have, like, questions, they want to talk about it, but they don't want to cram it all in, like, the general chat. It seems like it would only encourage gossipy behavior, though, in my opinion. But I don't know, it could have been for fans originally, but considering the year of the posts and the screenshot was 2022, seems like it was still up for a while after Frenemies' passing. Think what you feel about that. In the end, I think Olivia is obviously joking about Frenemies 2 being home base.
You guys want some feedback?
But
I want you to speak the shit out of
Do
me.
you want to say about Olivia, by the way? Because some people are...
Oh, yeah.
not-
So Olivia, I talked about it on
Yeah.
H3 TV.
The other H3 TV.
I gotta explain. I have some explaining.
That's what I was talking about. We gotta hash this out.
Oh, that I forgot. Yeah, that is funny. So Olivia
Thank you, Mark.
basically is taking 3 months to go back and finish her school. She was almost done with school, and so she went back to I don't know where. I guess I won't say anyway. She went back to finish school. She'll be back in 3 months, you know, and back on the show. That's it. She asked for 3 months to go.
She's
finish.
watching right now.
She is.
Shout out Olivia. Yeah, she messaged
shout
me.
out Olivia.
Olivia, please stand up.
Everyone was so sad that she'll be gone for 3 months.
Yeah.
It's a sausage fest again.
I do just want to say and remind everyone that Olivia here wasn't even finished with her schooling, her college schooling, when she made this joke about Frenemies being home base. I mean, you can say like maybe it was a half joke, maybe it was kind of serious. But like, let's remember that she was pretty young here. She was around 22, 23 years old. You know, she's had to learn a lot and she's expected to grow. And I think that, you know, it doesn't excuse what she said about, you know, Frenemies being home base and stuff. But I mean, let's maybe humanize some of this for a minute and just remember that that's a pretty young girl. I mean, if Hassan can be allowed to say that Miley Cyrus was like a little slut as a joke when he was in his 20s, I feel like Olivia saying this is a joke, I really don't give a shit about. Like, come on, guys. I do agree, though, this comment would have emboldened more Frenemies 2 snarkers to continue what they're doing. Even the people who were saying some of the worst stuff would have seen that and thought, oh, we have support. I think as creators, we do really need to be careful about how we approach Snark subs, and the attitude towards Frenemies 2 here was very flippant from everyone involved. Not to single anybody out, but H3 fans at the time, like we said, had already noticed Frenemies 2 was going in a bad way. There was a really high upvoted post for the home base comment, and it feels like it wasn't really ever addressed. The crew in this episode even started talking about everyone needing to migrate to Frenemies 12, joking about it being the new home. It was made by Love as a joke, and it is still up to this day. Love made it during the episode H3 TV number 18. Frenemies 2 went private during the show, probably signaling the end of the sub. I think Ethan and the crew were definitely irresponsible with their usage of the snarks at the time. I will take a few moments, probably a lot of minutes actually, to contextualize why the crew and Ethan may have had their own blind hatred for Trisha in these moments. I know that sounds like an excuse, but some of the stuff I wrote for these next few, I guess, chapters really did make me feel angry for Ethan and the crew, and that's just reading about it. That's not even me experiencing it myself, so let's get into it. Anywho, I would like to take this opportunity to remind people of what Trisha did to not only Ethan and his wife, Hila, but also the employees of the H3 podcast. And I want to preface this by saying I don't agree with Snark, but in some ways, I understand that in the wake of Frenemies ending, the fallout and content that Trisha was putting out had H3 on the defensive, which we will get into. I will give disclosure, and say for my previous video about the Daddy-Daughter Dream Team, I did go to their Snark page for information about them while doing research. I do not agree with the posts that are needlessly mean about people and their looks, but the Snark page did actually have evidence to back up some of their theories and claims. And when I am talking about speculation or people's opinions, I try to be very clear with that instead of muddying the waters between fact and fan fiction. Sometimes I mess up though, because I'm still new to this, I am still learning, and if I make a mistake, I will apologize for it. So I think that people do use Snark pages for information, but there is a difference between blindly believing every single thing that they post about and actually verifying the information for yourself. There also absolutely needs to be more stricter moderation of these places. I think some Snarks have become a bit more intelligent in skirting around the rules regarding Snarks. In fact, I think a lot of places are even like hidden Snark places. They use coded language and always say they're a place to discuss a certain person, and someone who is unaware of the concept of Snarks might easily get involved with them. What Trisha did to H3. I know there's a lot of aftermath from both sides of the conflict, even still permeating today. The conflict between Trisha and Ethan was massive.
And you know what else is massive?
But we really do need to revisit some of the things Trisha did that were way out of the line. Trisha's defense was often that she was merely retaliating towards Ethan, but her rebuttals were far often above the level that Ethan went to. Not only that, but her fans also use her mental illness as an excuse for her behavior. Post Frenemies, it was a rough time where everyone was processing in real time the abuse that they had gone through. Trisha had publicly called Hila a cunt multiple times unprompted, saying she hated her.
Off, and the whole episode I was just staring at.
Can we have Hila as a guest on our podcast?
No.
Why? Because people think like I hate her or she doesn't like me or something. Like I feel like we need to have like, because like, you know what I mean? Like I like Hila so
She
much.
could sit in, yeah, she could probably sit in.
You just said no, now you're like,
Just a snap judgment. Seriously damaged my fucking throat.
Can you next episode like not wear Teddy Fresh? Like one episode?
Sure.
Okay. It's like so a lot. Okay.
Ethan pushed back, saying that Hila found it annoying that Trisha kept calling her rude and unwelcoming, and not only calling Hila the C word, but also making insinuations about Hila only sleeping with Ethan if it was a good transaction.
I zelled you.
Oh shit, you sent me a little extra?
And I said 500 because you need it.
She sent me a 1,500, an extra 500 because you need it.
Maybe you could like take Hila on a date so you can finally get laid.
Thank you.
Maybe you could buy her like a little Cartier bracelet or something.
Is this your way of trying to insult me because I won?
What? No, never.
So,
which is an interesting point that I don't think I've seen anyone bringing up about this, probably because it was such a brief conversation between them. It was made in an effort to not only emasculate Ethan, but to also bring Hila in it, as though she probably wouldn't have sex with him unless there was a worthy transaction brought into it. Like, I feel like that's a pretty sexist comment to make, right? But I don't see anyone talking about it. Additionally, Trisha also criticized Ethan and Hila's parenting for having nannies and help while they were at work.
When I have a kid, I'm not gonna have nannies, that's for damn sure.
what does that mean? You're not gonna have a babysitter when you have a kid? How are you gonna do anything? You're gonna... What does that mean? You're trying to attack our parental abilities?
Let's just move on. There's no attack. I just made a comment.
Is there something wrong with having a nanny?
In my eyes, yes.
Really?
We just keep doing the beauty.
What about daycare?
Daycare's different.
Why?
Daycare is... Nannies are like people who come here and take care of your child all day.
Because we're working. That's how... everybody has nanny. They work. People work.
You can take care of kids and work. I never
How?
had a nanny. My parents, I never had a nanny.
And so you think we're bad parents? That's what you're
I didn't say
insinuating?
that. I said I would never have a nanny. Did I say you had a bad parent? You're putting words in my mouth. I literally said I would never have a nanny if I had a kid. When I have a kid, I'm not gonna have nannies. That's for damn sure.
Trisha said that she would never have help and would be with her kids all the time if she was a parent. Obviously coming from a place where she believed that she was infertile. So she was coming from the belief of like, well, I would treasure every single moment with my kids. As if to say that Ethan and Ela aren't doing the same. So Trisha is a parent now, to be clear, and has help herself.
My parents were going to be home. My mom was there. My dad was there. We have someone who helps with our kids occasionally there. Like, everyone was going to be there.
So yes, Trisha is a hypocrite. I personally don't care if people have nannies, and I don't blame people for needing help, particularly in the newborn stage. But Trisha made a big deal about how it's not good parenting, thus calling Ethan and Ela bad parents. Attacking someone's parenting is a huge deal and awful. I mean, Trisha will say like, oh, I didn't really outright say that. This is the problem with like people like Trisha and Hassan and how they skirt criticism, is that they shield themselves with just enough vagueness in their statements to feign ignorance, but we all know what they really mean when they are insinuating stuff. I don't really know how else you can defend this type of behavior, even if you say this is her way of getting revenge for Ethan saying she had like a sizable gravitational force. The difference is that what Ethan said was kind of objectively funny in the context, and Trisha was unable to make a funny rebuttal towards Ethan, so she went for a vicious slight as a defense. By the way, getting into the weight thing, it was discussed many times by both of them, whether it was on the table or not, and sometimes it seemed like, oh yeah, of course, like, we're both fat, it's great, we can talk about it with each other. And then some other times it was like, you do not get to call me fat. It was confusing. Trisha also continuously made outright comments towards Ethan and Moses, Ela's brother, about how he didn't actually like them and wasn't really close to them.
Oh, okay. I mean, no, it's nothing bad. I'm just saying there's little things that I know too. It's not a big deal, whatever.
What? So say it.
I mean, it's nothing like, it's not, there's no reason to say it. It's
But you're
literally
making
just
it
me.
sound like it's bad.
I'm just saying I know everything. So don't act like, oh, you have some special connection with Moses. Like, I know more than you do about everything. Like, I know everything about everything. I know more about Moses than anybody. Like, I know more about your family than anybody. I know more about his family than every. Yeah, I know about
I don't know anything about my family.
Exactly.
How do you know anything about my family? My parents don't even know anything about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
What? What is happening? Why did you turn this into some weird veiled threat?
It's not a threat.
You're like, I know the truth.
But you know what? That's why I feel like I actually do like.
And we're close with him. I don't know what he has to hide from us because we're not judgmental.
I don't think you guys are close as you think, but continue. Like, I don't think there's a closeness.
Okay, go ahead and try to drive a wedge between me and my brother-in-law, you freak.
You know you're not close.
I mean, we have a level of familiarity.
We're working on like the house and stuff, but not like, hey, like, how's it going?
Okay, whatever. I'm not even gonna argue the closeness of my relationship with you. Not obviously not with you. I mean, he hasn't put his dick in my butt, if that's what you mean.
A comment she made whenever Ethan said him and Moses were close. This obviously confused Ethan and Ela because they actually had a long-standing relationship with Moses, and he appeared in a few of their much older vlogs and helped film sometimes. To their knowledge, it was a close familial relationship. What I believed happened here is that Moses talked shit about Ethan and Ela to Trisha behind their backs, but didn't anticipate Trisha actually bringing it up. Much like the time how Ethan confided in Trisha about when he would take tramadol in Israel when he was at his like shitty ass job and got kind of addicted to them, and then Trisha weaponized it against him, which she did because she was offended by Ethan calling her crazy, instead of just asking him calmly to not call her crazy.
I would never say I turned out fine.
The most dysfunctional family.
I literally would never say I turned out fine, even though I did. I turned out okay. I'm
no,
functional.
just because you make money doesn't mean
you're
okay.
way crazier than me.
That's so not true.
No, but you're way crazier than me.
That's not true.
Bro, that's objectively true.
You hide it more, just like Mikey, who hides shit.
Oh, really?
It all gets brought to the surface.
I don't hide
later
anything.
On.
I literally don't. You literally just said how honest I am, and you respect that about
But
me.
you hide the crazy, is what I'm saying. Yeah, you
I don't
share
hide.
a lot.
I don't hide.
You do hide the crazy.
I'm all out there with
You
no
don't talk
fucking
about-
eyebrows and everything.
You were into pills. You never talk about that you were a pill addict for a minute.
What?
Yeah, you said that. You said you were really into pills, and you don't talk about that.
Why do I need to talk about that?
Because that's being open. That you're judging me for being crazy, taking pills or whatever. Like I take pills or whatever. But you've done it too, and you're just not open about it.
I don't think that is a defining characteristic of who I am.
I think that is a big thing. That makes sense. Why? Because you're on medication now, and there's no shame or judgment in it. But like, hey, if you're gonna shame me for being off meds, you should say, hey, I'm on meds.
I'm not shaming you for being off meds.
That's what it sounds like. You just
think
called me
you're
crazy,
But here's
which
what you
means
do.
I'm off
You know what you just did?
medication.
You're trying to see. This is why you are such a dangerous person, especially to be close with, because you'll take something that I've told you. You'll take something that somebody told you in confidence, and you'll use it. You'll weaponize it against them.
That's not true.
That's what you just did.
No,
and luckily
no,
for you, I don't care, and I'm okay with it.
no.
But you go, oh well, I told you an anecdote about how I used to take tramadol back in Israel.
Never mind all the other moments where he'd call her crazy and she was fine with it. It was just in this particular moment, it was not okay. Trisha bringing up Moses disliking Ethan and Hila secretly is a psychological manipulation tactic called triangulation. Whether she meant to do it or not doesn't matter. That is the term for what that is. It involves bringing in a third party into a conflict to create division or to gain control, often pitting people against each other. Think divide and conquer. It is a move that often shows up in toxic relationships, quite often family dynamics, or even workplace conflicts. Triangulation can look like pulling a person in and forcing them to take a side, pitting people against each other, creating loyalty tests, and creating just conflict. I think that if Trisha actually cared about Moses, she would never have revealed his secret feelings and would have just let him deal with it on his own. Moses also uses triangulation in his own family dynamic by taking clips of Ethan calling him out, saying he's kind of an asshole, and sending it to his mother, Moses' mother, and whining to her about it. That has no other purpose other than to pit people against one another, forcing someone to take a side in a conflict. I highly doubt that Hila was sending Trisha's episode with Keemstar to her mother saying, look at what Moses' wife is saying about us, or the fact that Moses was hanging out with the guy that he knew full well had been really mean to Hila specifically. Frenemies ended around June 9th of 2021, and Ethan made his video about Frenemies ending June 10th, and Trisha went on Keemstar's podcast on the 18th of August.
Okay, so this is not to harp on the Trisha drama, because I'm over it, but I don't want to deprive the excellent work of this Fupa Trooper from the subreddit. Emergency Gloomy put together a moving infograph of the live responses on a daily basis regarding the Frenemies breakup. This is pretty interesting. I mean, I'm impressed with the work. You know, she's accused me of dragging it on. Is that real? 200?
He takes that 5%.
Pretty amazing,
That's pretty
huh?
wild.
You have 5% of the amount of posts.
I know, by the look of it, yeah.
5% difference is astronomical.
I actually didn't realize it was that much.
I guess I didn't follow a lot of it because there must have been a lot of tweets and TikToks and stuff. That's great, man.
Sexual harassment. After Frenemies ended, Trisha accused Ethan of sexual harassment because he would ask her about her sex work, a topic which she was always very open about and often brought up herself. However, after finishing Frenemies, Trisha realized that these were triggers for her, and then Trisha has said this led her to feeling like she was sexualized in the workplace, which can only be implied or interpreted as, workplace sexual harassment. In the beginning of the podcast journey, Ethan had expressed he wasn't sexually attracted to Trisha because she kept insisting that he wanted her sexually, just he didn't want to admit it. She found it hard to believe he wasn't sexually attracted to her. She had previously been tweeting sexually aggressive messages towards him before Frenemies started. Whether Ethan knew that at the time, I'm not sure. I think that maybe he was aware of the nudes that were sent to him before then because he brings it up during Frenemies. Not sure. Trisha had also made numerous comments early in Frenemies about believing Ethan wanted to have sex with her, as she believed that all men wanted her in that way, but also making comments about Ethan's looks numerous times.
season, hashtag spook season on TikTok.
I feel spooky. My ass is fat James Charles this week.
I think you've never looked better, to be honest. Like, you looked so good. Like, I didn't want to be like over the top when I came in because like I have my boyfriend here, but I was like, whoa.
You think that I'm attractive like this?
Yeah, this is like, no, I'm not kidding. This is like my ideal man. Like, I like a mask, but with like femininity to it. You look a little more Manny Emiway because he's a little thick boy too, and I think like you look like him more.
Trisha had also made OnlyFans content before Frenemies where she to Ethan's videos, even videos where Hila was sometimes present. Ethan didn't know about it at first, and even said Frenemies maybe would never have happened if he knew about that beforehand. You might not like hearing this, but if it was gender reversed and Ethan made videos masturbating to Trisha unsolicited, Ethan would be cancelled forever. Trisha likes to weaponize her mental health issues, saying she doesn't understand boundaries or that she can get a little crazy sometimes. But this is sexual harassment. And unfortunately, some people have hand-waved her sexually explicit actions towards Ethan, blaming her BPD. Ethan made jokes about her clitoris back 2017, 2018, maybe after that too. Yeah, that's gross. Ethan also made jokes about Nikocado Avocado's asshole. Ethan makes crude jokes and gross jokes about people, including himself. Now that is an excuse to send your genitalia pictures to somebody. Him joking about Nick's cow asshole or Trisha's is gross and mean, but sending someone unsolicited pictures of your vagina, your penis, that's harassment. And that makes you wrong too. Obviously, from the get-go, boundaries of what's okay between Ethan and Trisha started off very blurred. And then creating porn, masturbating to a person you met who told you they're not sexually attracted to you, sending them explicit photos of yourself directly.
Falls out of your vagina, or whatever goes on OnlyFans.
I don't think...
Sending vag pics to me on Twitter, remember you did that?
But that was before we were dating too. Like,
yeah, but still, I'm just saying it happened.
I wouldn't do that now.
But that's the kind of stuff she's going to see. So that makes sense that Moses would want to tempt. Yes. No, that makes...
But why?
He says he was protecting Trisha.
But what? Why? Like, my family wouldn't judge you if you had your dick on the internet. Like, I don't understand. Like, what's there to judge about that because I'm open with my body?
And tweeting at them detail of how you want to be railed on their purple couch? It's sexual harassment. And for Trisha to turn around after Frenemies ended and saying she felt sexually harassed by questions regarding her sex work is, I think, really unfair. The only time people treated Ethan's desire for boundaries seriously is when it came to wrestling. Trisha constantly wanted to wrestle Ethan during Frenemies, as she did wrestling in high school, and immediately Ethan put up a boundary and said he did not want to do it, that he did not want to touch her. And Trisha kept saying, trying to pressure him, going, oh, well, why don't you want to touch me? Is it because I have boobs? Are you sexist? Are you like freaked out by me? Why don't you want to touch me? And she kept pressing him about this matter, but then she only backed off when the audience felt she wasn't respecting his boundaries. I think that's a pretty uncomfortable thing to experience, even if you're a man. The crew's involvement. Barely a month after Frenemies ended, Trisha tried to get revenge on Ethan by going on Keemstar's podcast. Which, funnily enough, Ethan actually predicted that. At the time, Keemstar was a big enemy to Ethan and Trisha. She said she was afraid of him and didn't want to talk about him. Keem had also made numerous attacks on Hila and her physical image. Not only that, but Keemstar had made many allegations about Ethan and Hila stealing money, namely from the FUPA fund, and from a charity that was going towards shooting victims. Keemstar later retracted those statements, of course. Trisha then had leaked private conversations between her and the H3 group chat. She made a 3-part video series called Ethan's Lies, and it was 2.5 hours long. She relentlessly posted on TikTok about Ethan and H3. She really did a lot. And that's not to say that Ethan doesn't do that type shit in the current day, especially. But the amount of posting is not the issue here, but obviously Trisha did put a lot out there, and there has to be a rebuttal to all the things that Trisha had said. I will say, out of everything that Trisha made a video about, because she did do a lot even during Frenemies, she was probably the most right when she was criticizing AB for saying that she was only mad at David Dobrik because she was spiteful for not being in the vlog squad anymore, plus some other stuff we don't have time to get into, but AB's initial takes about this whole situation were not good. But he apologized for those takes and reflected on what he said, and Trisha's pushback contributed to that. And I think also probably the audience too.
Go ahead with your statement. I may stop you at some point to discuss certain issues. We could take it from there.
All right, bear with me, because I'm being sincere with this. I want to start by saying that I was completely wrong for the statements I made.
The leaked messages between Trisha and H3, plus what Trisha had said on Frenemies, complaining about a girlfriend being hired to work for Ethan, led to the significant others of all men working at H3 to get harassed, including Ali, Dan the producer's girlfriend, now wife. Ali has no affiliation with H3, like, pretty much whatsoever, apart from being with the producer, and wasn't hired to work there, at least not at this time to my knowledge. Fans unjustifiably harassed these women, saying that they were the reason that Frenemies was no longer being made. Again, pretty sexist to be like, oh well, a woman got hired here, so I'm gonna harass her and blame her for Trisha storming out. It is because of Trisha's undeniable, I sound like Chris now, this undeniable lack of professionalism which made the work environment for other employees extremely toxic and uncomfortable. Trisha bringing up money, the highlights channel revenue, complaining about segments, complaining about employees, complaining about Ela, complaining about the ideas, complaining about the costumes. She was a complete diva. Anyway, it was in fact Sam, Ian's girlfriend at the time, who was targeted by Trisha as being a bad segment creator. It was Sam's first week fully employed at H3, and Trisha was very vocal about how she really disliked an audience advice segment, saying it was lazy. And then she kind of created a podcast with Tanner, centered around giving advice to call-in audience members, so listen. I don't really understand what's going on there. Unfortunately, Trisha felt slighted that Ethan was hiring new employees without her permission. Despite her just being contracted talent, Trisha had just said that she was fine arriving as talent and having everything set up by everyone else. And then suddenly she started vocalizing opinions about the crew and wanting a new Frenemies crew that didn't feel as connected to the H3 show.
What we're gonna do. So you kind of tell me what to do, but at the same time I like it because I control everything else in my life. So I kind of like just showing up and like you already have this plan. So I'm not complaining. Also, I think that's contagious. Whatever your symptom is, where I think I have that now too.
It's not contagious.
While Trisha never explicitly said she wanted the original H3 crew fired, she did make the impossible request of asking for a completely new crew just to do just that show, which would mean, in a way, firing the current crew from that job. You can play around with the wording however you like. But at the end of the day, that was Trisha's request. Even if she didn't outright say it, again, it's this thing of like vagueness skirting around the issue. Ethan had offered a compromise and said that he would hire a producer that Trisha wanted because she wanted more people on her team, on her side, aka to take her side on things. Ethan even said he would pay for it. Like, what more do you want? To be clear, Trisha never was expected to ever pay for anything. It was a totally one-sided business because Trisha was just talent. And getting 45% cut to just show up is pretty baller. Trisha may not have outright said fire the crew then and there, but on an episode of her 2020 podcast, The Dish with Trish, I'm having trouble talking today, she did say the crew, or interns as she put it, should be fired because they're crap apparently.
It's not like, motherfucker, I don't fucking care about your bitch ass. Like, I just don't. Like, H3 used to be popping, like, back in the day, right? They used to have, like, Jack Black, Bill Burr, Bo Burnham, Crystalia, like, Shane. They used to get all these fucking guests and shit. And it's like, the other day, they had a doctor talking about COVID-19. I was like, eee. I think they need to start with just getting rid of all the interns that work for them, like Dan and all them. They're just awful. They're just awful. I mean, I remember even before I went on the show, Dan being like, we don't want Trisha as a guest. Like, the worst decision ever, because their most popular episodes from last year and this year are me. So stupid, but hey, okay, cool.
Trisha really did obsess over the financial side of everything, which is so funny when you think about like how little she actually put into the show. She questioned her earnings split while not putting up any financial risk or cost of her own.
There's gonna be 20 highlights of this. You can spend the highlight money on the sushi.
Sugarfish for this?
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good, actually. Of all the shit we've eaten here, yeah.
The financials really did all depend on Ethan and H3. The financial split for Frenemies was 45% for Trisha, 50% for Ethan, 5% went to production costs. People like to say Ethan was getting 55% or whatever, and it's like, I guess, like, sure, you can say that, but the 5% was going to production costs, so it's not really Ethan's 5%. When people say it's his 5%, it's acting like he's pocketing the money, which a lot of people like to say. So I'll keep this section brief, but Trisha was absolutely fixated, convinced that the 5% was unfair, and also unfair that the clips and highlights channel didn't give her any revenue, especially when Ethan's team was making clips of her meltdowns. Which was not okay in my opinion, but she voiced that she didn't like it, and they didn't do it, and they moved on. It really is that simple. When Frenemies began, Dan, the producer, actually did get a raise to his salary. I'm not sure how many other people got raises, but it was said fairly recently by Ethan that he gave people raises. He just didn't announce it, because why does he have to announce something like that? It was going to be a new project, it was going to be big, and giving your employees raises, I think, is probably something a good boss would do. The new Frenemies set was said to have cost $50,000. Some people have called into question the number, but I would assume that a lot of that cost is eaten up by new cameras, streaming equipment, invested for Frenemies. Trisha didn't have to put any money into the show. All she had to do was just show up and be herself. I know I've said that a lot, but I have to keep reiterating it. But Trisha just could not stop herself from calling Ethan a cheap Jew, saying even in text messages that she leaked, "Don't Jew me." People such as the Frenemies 3 subreddit have stated very confidently that Ethan never gave the crew 5%, and he kept promising that it went to the team, but he just pocketed it himself? Again, providing no evidence for this claim, they claim that he seemingly kept it for himself and just simply lied about production costs, which leads into my point of like what I don't understand. What I don't understand is why the team would even bother staying around such a horrible boss if he would go around online telling everyone that he's like, oh, this great person he's paying for Frenemies, the 5% going towards production costs, everyone's getting paid, and then pocketing it, and then like the employees get nothing out of that. I mean, people treat them as if they're like all these morons, like especially Dan, as though he's like some sort of idiot that wouldn't speak up for himself or call Ethan out for doing something literally so two-faced. Come on, guys. I know people have been like saying like Dan's like doesn't speak up or anything, but Dan absolutely would be the first person to call Ethan out if that was happening. In this same post, they say that the crew in fact did not receive salary raises, he never gave them out, and just wanted to gaslight Trisha. Again, providing no evidence for these claims made here, just basically spouting nonsense. And I got 351 upvotes. People believed this post for some reason. And that's Snark for ya. That's why we can't just like look at posts and be like, yep, that's true. Again, in the H3 video regarding Trisha quitting Frenemies, Ethan states he was sending her a fully itemized breakdown of costs every month. Ethan's CPA was organizing all the reporting every single month. However, Trisha, like always, wanted more. She wanted an itemized breakdown of the entire H3 business.
That much to ask, that I get a 5% cut to cover everything that I've spoken about. We pay for the set, we rent the space, We film it. We use our equipment. We employ the people. We edit it. We upload it. We post it. We get that sponsors. We develop the concepts. We work all week to prep the segments. We pay for the insurance. We do the accounting and the payroll. I send her a fully itemized report every month of literally everything and how the expenses break down and her cut. And the fact that she would even accuse me of not being transparent is honestly very hurtful, because I've gone so far out of my way to be as transparent as possible. I show her literally everything. I have our CPA preparing a monthly report itemizing literally everything. We pay for all of that. We do all of that. We work on Sundays to prep the show, and she's complaining that 5%. She's apparently like, I want to say, and how that 5% is spent. The 5% is already spent on everything I just said. There's no production company in the world that would do all that for 5%. More like 50% or even more. The 5% is a family rate. It's literally nothing. It might not even be covering our costs, to be honest with you. It's as close to nothing as humanly possible. And one of the great efforts I've always made to be as fair and transparent and accommodating to Trisha as possible, but it's like she always keep going back, like I have a say to say what the 5%.
In the leaked text messages between Ethan and Trisha, Ethan asked her beforehand for permission to take an extra 5% for the crew to get. Trisha agreed. Again, her fixation on this 5% is so ridiculous. When you think of a grander image where her 45% split to just show up is going to be so much bigger than that 5%, it's just insanely greedy. And she has the audacity to always make these comments about how Ethan is a cheap, stingy Jew. It's unfucking real. Trisha's weird lies is also another reason why H3 was so stunned by the Frenemies aftermath. In the last episode of Frenemies, where Trisha and Ethan dressed up as this couple in the Addams family, Trisha had said in text messages that she loved the idea and the woman she would be dressing up as. But then, on that fateful day of Frenemies number 39, Trisha would say on the episode that she had no idea who the characters were and that she wanted to do more male costumes instead of women. She said it was all Ethan's idea to do these, and she just agreed to make it to him. She just agreed to make him happy? She said she had no idea about the movie and really had no connection to the character of the film whatsoever. But then in messages said it was one of her all-time favorite movies.
Maui and Moana. My idea would be Sharpay and Ryan from High School Musical. I've never once picked our costumes. Never once.
What?
Never once. You can fact check it in the thing. Never once.
You have never once picked our
Never
outfit?
once.
Okay, show this.
I don't want to be the girl in the movies. I want to be the boy too. Like, I want to be able to be like.
Okay, well, this is us anyway. This is Uncle Fester and Debbie. She's like the Black Widow serial killer that killed all of her husbands.
Mm-hmm.
And message about it when I pitched it to her, originally. And I'm not, I know this is like a DM, but I do think it's important to illustrate the realness of like how difficult it is to navigate this space with her. Because she putting out like how much she hated the costumes. It was my idea. She never wanted to do it. She doesn't even know the character. She says, I don't even know this character. I sent her this picture. I said, costume idea? She says, laugh my ass off. Oh my God. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. Can we? I love her. And we said, okay. And then Trisha went to her tailor, had the costumes made. And so how am I supposed to... How am I... It's like, I'm in this pot... she loves it. It's one of her favorite movies. And then she hates it. She doesn't even know who the character is. And it's all my idea. And, fuck me for even making her do this. It's like, I don't understand. What am I supposed to do?
If a lot of this really is just Trisha lying to people please, then that's her problem. If she really wasn't happy with the split, she should have said something up front. If she had issues with comments Dan and AB had made about her before Frenemies was made, she should have talked to them about it beforehand off screen, but no, she brings it up during Frenemies filming instead of just being an adult about it. People might say I'm being mean to Trisha here, but as an adult, Unfortunately, no one is going to save you for not speaking up for yourself. Trisha, at this point in time, didn't need to be coddled. It's a lesson I think everyone should learn. Speak up for yourself and talk through your issues. If she didn't feel it was safe to do so, then don't take the job. During this episode, Ethan surrendered and said it was in fact a Reddit suggestion that he found, and then asked her if she, wanted to do it in the text messages. I don't know why this is so important, but I guess it was an argument over whose idea the costumes were. I don't really care whose idea it was. I just care that Trisha acted like she had no idea what this character was, who she was, thought she looked horrible. I mean, granted, that day she did start the stream saying that she had a really rough time with her makeup artist cancelling on her, so she had to do her own makeup in a hurry, and that she didn't ever feel good when she did her own makeup, so
now I need to let
for
it go.
Gabby.
I think just in general, I've been feeling really negative. Like when those people were around my car, I just was feeling negative. I felt negativity.
I got you. You're like,
know?
Give me some space, you little fucking pieces of shit.
Well, it's also because
You know what I'm saying?
But I also like when I don't get my
I'm a human being.
when I have to do my own makeup, I also feel really ugly. So I just feel like with my skin peeling, my own I just don't feel myself. Like I usually look at the monitor and like stare at myself, and I just don't feel like looking at myself.
Nah, you look good. You tripping.
Well, you're just saying that. You think like anyone looks good. You're just like, oh yeah, you could say like Alfredo looks good. You know what I mean?
Alfredo does look good. Why are you insulting Alfredo? Yeah, why would you say Alfredo?
Okay, sorry. I don't know where you want. I do love Alfredo. All right.
In some ways, I do wonder if this was like a whole meltdown over just her feeling insecure that day, and then she just didn't come back because maybe she was embarrassed by her behavior. It probably would have been pretty hard seeing the crew again after everything that she had said. And one last thing to add more about the finances, the long-forgotten Frenemies merch drama is also another factor where Trisha didn't have to put in any work and still got paid with no upfront risk. Hila's company and the design team were the ones who put their work at Teddy Fresh on hold to do the designs and production of Frenemies merch. Hila, by the way, who was very gracious despite Trisha calling her an unwelcoming cunt. Ethan states that the $100,000 were tied up in the Frenemies merch. The merch was an idea that he was hesitant to enter into because he was concerned if Frenemies would still be happening by the time it was done. And these fears were unfortunately what became reality. Yet another thing that Ethan predicted.
And I'm putting all my money on the line, and now I have hundreds of thousands of dollars tied up in merch that I'm probably not gonna be able to fucking sell, that my wife worked super hard on, her staff worked super hard on, and now it's like, tough luck, dude. Trisha got paid, and she's complaining about 5%. It blows my mind, and I'm upset about it. I am. I can't hide it. I just am. It's just not fair.
H3's Snark usage continued. Now that we have recontextualized the era that was Frenemies and post-Frenemies, I think some people might understand a little bit better why H3 might be using her Snark. I think people were still a little bit miffed by how everything went down, so forgive me if I'm not totally surprised that H3 wanted to hate watch some stuff or hate read Reddit posts criticizing Trisha, who left a wake of destruction not only on the internet but in their interpersonal lives, attempting to accuse Ethan of sexual harassment, but also after Trisha herself had allegedly sexually harassed Ethan, in my opinion. I won't blame the relationship between Hila and her brother Moses falling apart on Trisha exactly. I think that was a really weird and snaky situation that was just revealed more in part because of Trisha. Clearly, that's to do with Moses and how he operates. I don't wish to excuse H3 using Trisha's Snark too much. Much like Trisha doesn't get a free pass to abuse people because she's having an episode, H3 should have handled their post-Frenemies actions a lot better. While going through the transcript of probably dozens of videos, a lot of them did include Ethan bringing up Trisha maybe 1 or 2 times in an episode, and looking back on it, I'm sure there were a lot of fresh feelings and people still feeling hurt, but I think H3, maybe specifically Ethan, could have been a bit more mature or perhaps kept it out of conversation. Perhaps it felt justified due to the Moses stealthing allegations and Trisha calling the supposed victim a liar. H3 has historically fought for victims and supported a lot of women who came out with allegations. There's a lot more about Moses and Trisha that could be said about these allegations, but it will not fit into this video, and I'm not too up to speed on like any updates for that if there have been, so let's just move past that. So it's not to say that H3 can't or shouldn't respond to things Trisha says about them, but it's kind of clear to me that it has gotten to a point where that's not really what the situation was in the end. I think Hila specifically didn't want to interact about Trisha when Ethan brought her up. It seemed like it got to a point where people were just over it. I think they're still over it. I can understand bringing her up when maybe Keemstar's name pops up, or Shane Dawson, David Dobrik, people who are, I guess, corresponding with her in that era of YouTube. But there really were times where it just wasn't the vibe.
Yeah, be very delicate.
Is it a cutout of Trisha's ex-husband Brad Pitt?
Time will tell. Very delicate.
So to conclude this section, finally, I want to say that H3 potentially didn't know how bad Reddit's snark for Trisha had become, but I'm just not so sure I really believe that myself. To my knowledge, it wasn't really addressed on the show, and it wouldn't be until years later, approximately, that Ethan would start talking about how her Reddit got banned, and that he was curious, wanting to know how exactly she got to do it because he wanted his gone too. I think Trisha is a hypocrite, and I still believe she is a liar in some regards. However, I think in the years since Frenemies ended, she's done really well to move on and seems to be genuinely in a much healthier, better place, and she's no longer sitting on the kitchen floor crying or having Twitter meltdowns, and I think that that's all I'll put to that. Ethan's hypocrisy and valid criticisms. There are some good points of criticism towards Ethan, and most of this video was a rebuttal against poorly written, thought out attacks against him. I guess probably more so in part 1 than part 2. Part 2 has been kind of a weird video. However, through my research for this video, trying to argue against these people, I found some points that did have me pausing and going like, okay, that's a valid point. Why didn't these people bring it up, I don't know, now? A lot of them are kind of from a few years ago though, so I know if more than 5 people watch this video, they're probably going to be like, well, why are we bringing up the past? We've moved on, we've grown as people, and I think yeah, totally, I agree with that. I just think these points I'm going to bring up are ones I genuinely never heard before, and I do kind of agree with them, but again, it is kind of like, well, things have changed since then, so. As for bringing up the past, I think a few people on one side would say it's fine, especially if the person in question is bringing up the past that others do, and another side would say, listen, if the individual is clearly changed through action, words, and not just saying the right thing, then they should be absolved and forgiven. I think for me personally, I'm not going to tell you what like you should and shouldn't be mad about and what you should and should forgive for. Like, I'll be the last person to say to someone that you should forgive him for using the, you know, the N-word, right? It's not really my place to tell you to do that. You know, like I can say, oh yeah, it was a long time ago, he hasn't said it since, like, clearly we've moved on from that. But if someone was really affected by that and didn't like Ethan because of it, then I guess in a lot of ways it's like, who am I to tell you what to feel like, right? You know, there are some people that I still do not like who have probably in a lot of ways absolved themselves of things, and I just, for my personal reasons, cannot move on. And that, I guess it's just like something between me and that stuff, right? But I don't want someone to tell me that like I should feel a certain way about it, so I'm not going to tell you to feel a certain way about it. So the first point was being pro mental health but wanting to give Gabby Hanna a Best Breakdown award. I think Ethan used to toe the line a lot with his comedy, and I think this joke about wanting to award Gabby Hanna with a Breakdown of the Year award, Ethan, you are messy. Not good. I definitely, I wasn't really aware of it at the time. I guess it probably just like slipped past me, but having it presented to me by no one else, none other than Keemstar himself, who actually made this point on the episode with Trisha and FaZe Banks, which, by the way, yes, everyone in this episode, extremely hypocritical. I mean, like, maybe not FaZe Banks, because later, he didn't really have a lot to say, except women be sleeping with men, then calling it rape later when they don't like the guy, which Trisha did not really push back on that much.
Me like a slut and all these things because David would be in the shower when me and Jason were having sex and just like all this crazy shit. At the time, you think you're cool with it. So you can change your mind, I feel. And I think it's important to like understand.
Where's that line though in changing your mind? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because it kind of is unfair to the other party when it's like, for example, like the traditional example of like you sleep with a girl, and she's all about it, she's cool with it, you guys hang out a few times, down the road she's not fucking with you, doesn't really like you, kind of regrets sleeping with you.
Yeah, that's like a little bit different because for me, with like when you're with someone like David and you're getting all these views, there is like this thing where it's like if you don't do this stuff, you won't be in the vlog. So it's like a little bit different because it's a little more pressure.
Yeah, I get it.
You know, and to that, it's like that's why I kind of put it back on David. Like even if he is surrounded by yes man, like you even now filming Susie drunk, yeah, maybe she's cool with it now, but he should be a little more aware that like in the future this could like bite him in the butt, or just common sense. But
anywho, I think that Ethan got a bit better with handling stuff like this, and in 2022 when Gabby was having a public mental breakdown on TikTok, Ethan was tweeting telling people to remember that, people have died in the throes of these mental episodes and just to be mindful of what you're saying about them. I think that's good. I guess this links into also how Trisha's meltdowns were handled on Frenemies and how they did monetize it by making clips of her storming out, and they went viral, but they even titled an episode around it. And I get that this is drama, but I do think a majority of the Frenemies audience really disliked when Trisha got upset, and I do have to mention though, H3, like I said earlier, they changed their methods, respected Trisha's wishes after she spoke up and said she didn't like that happening. Again, I do think actual change has happened with this issue. Number 2. They're against Moses dating fans, but making a fan dating show for H3 is okay.
Crazy. And then I actually started hitting up Moses because I was like, dude, what? I can't have you flirting with my fans because you were kind of
I was a fan. Yeah, I was a fan.
You said there's audio, screen recordings, check the bio.
Yeah.
And then you're like, check out this exposed channel with 10 followers. I was like, oh, that's you. That's literally you.
Oh, you think I'm the exposed channel?
Yeah.
Why would I want to like embarrass myself?
No, you were just, it was all about trying to expose
Why would I want
Moses.
to expose him? Because I was like really, truly like in love with him. Why would I try to like kick him?
You said he talked so much trash about me and made fun of my body and then used me. He's scary and vile, needs help.
Yikes. I was really mad then, but that's a different...
I didn't answer because I was like, Moses, what is going on?
But
and then you say...
responded a month later. You were like trying to start shit because that was
because I didn't want to... This was insane, the
but
shit
then
you
you
were
thought
saying.
we were fine because we had Father's Day and everything, and you're like...
Well, because I'm like, I have to address the issue that Trisha just... Well, let me finish this.
Can we not? Like,
You said, just so you know, none of this was a troll. I truly thought he liked me, but he played me. He always was bitter. He was never on your... Oh, here, I won't read this. I won't read that. He always was bitter. He was never on your... Oh.
Perhaps it is one thing to be Moses and allegedly using your H3 clout as leverage to have sex with fans. Allegedly. But I genuinely don't understand making a dating show where the concept is fans pitching themselves to date people that are part of the H3 universe. Like, at the same time, like, I like Morgan. I think that her joining the show was really good, and it was because of the Batch Thriller. But I don't personally like the Batch Thriller as a concept, personally. Is that how you say it? The Batch Thriller? Whatever. This is my opinion and point that I have not really seen anyone else bring up, and that might be me being too woke. I don't really know. I'm sure people will tell me how wrong I am, but it's just what I think. And I guess the dating show didn't have sex implied, definitely not required, but while the dating show was sort of a jokey joke, I do think the true intentions were always to get people in a relationship, which will involve intimacy, especially Jeff Wittick. I mean, look at that guy. Come on. So for me personally, the H3 Bachelor was just, it was not my jam. I did not like it. And that is kind of all for like the criticisms I have, because it was kind of at the end of my script. I'm sure there's plenty of other things that people could fault them for, criticize them about, and I'm all for like valid criticism and stuff and actionable change. You know, I don't think people grow if they don't have some kind of criticism or some kind of points being made, but it really just goes to show that, like, I think a lot of the aspects of calling Ethan a misogynist, I think just fall really flat, because I don't think it's like this really intentional, like, vicious hatred. Like, I guess you can have said misogynistic things. I don't think it necessarily makes you a misogynist. You can say sexist things, but maybe it's not really like an intentional thing. It's more of a, you're just kind of ignorant type of thing. I think that's kind of perhaps what's been happening here. But they're not, the problem is, like, people like Kat Tambaj, they're not linking misogyny or sexism towards, like, real stuff. They're literally just saying, well, like, Twitch is a sexist place, and suing 3 female tit streamers. Twitch streamers. Oh my god, I can't talk today. Suing these female Twitch streamers is feeding into misogyny, and that was like Ethan's plan or something. Like, again, that's why these like things about misogyny just fall flat so hard, because these reporters, I feel like, aren't doing any effort to actually look into this stuff. They're not putting in any effort, they're just saying shit. And then they're just sourcing like Twitter. Like, what the fuck is this? What kind of fucking world do we live in now that this is fucking journalism? It's fucking stupid. And now the conclusion. Ethan Klein has definitely said misogynistic things before, and probably will have omens of saying it in the future. I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball. I think he's had issues with not understanding some of the women's experiences of the world, and he has had problems with communicating his ideas, and definitely has come off the wrong way quite a few times. However, by definition, someone who is a misogynist strongly despises women, being extremely prejudiced against women, and holding a considerable bias against them. Misogyny is a form of sexism that can hold women at a lower societal status to men. A man who hates women will not learn from them. I think Ethan learned a lot from Trisha. Frenemies was a really crucial time, I think, for Ethan and H3 to develop more. It taught AB about the issues with playing devil's advocate. Ethan learned more about women's experiences, and because Trisha did have a unique set of life experiences, it's hard to know which ones are true or not, but you can still learn from them. And there was a lot to be learned from Trisha. H3 employing more women is not a tokenization or attempt to save face. It was a great idea, and it has been a great idea.
She works for Teddy Fresh.
Okay, so we do have some females up in here. You remember I said you don't hire females?
Well, we have a lot of females in Teddy Fresh.
A little sexist to have them in the clothing department and not the podcast department.
Okay. I guess. That's
Bring
the way
it
it
up
is,
to
though.
HR. All right.
Yeah, bring it up to HR.
Women have been employed over the years because of their merits being found from their work. People like Tamara didn't just spawn in because she's a female. She is skilled. All of them are. People call Lena Ethan's slave, but she's his personal assistant, and she does a great job, and that is a necessary job. Like, why are you people undermining the work that these women do so hard? It genuinely feels like most people calling these women tokens just have no real life experience whatsoever. They're just hating to hate. And it's the same thing with, like, Nate. People say that Nate was hired as a token Mexican so that Ethan wouldn't be called racist, which is like totally just looking at Nate in the frame of just being his skin color, his ethnicity, his race, and not looking at the fact that Nate himself is a skilled person. He is a person with merit. He is a person with talent. It's like a very weird, warped sense where people think that they're owning Ethan by saying this, but then they themselves kind of being racist and sexist themselves. And to not see that, I really hope some people can see that from what I'm saying. I agree that Ethan has had his issues in the past, calling Trisha without makeup an open casket funeral, and then being upset when Keemstar made fun of Ela. Trisha gave Ethan the pushback he needed to see how he was kind of being hypocritical.
I feel like the Twinkie comment was I don't know why. I thought that was... Is that not different than the horse comment? No. I'm trying to rationalize it.
How?
Your palm is tan, bro.
We said this in the car. I look like... Oh, no. I don't know
Can I call a girl Twinkie? I guess that was rude of me.
Of course. course. Some people think horses are beautiful, but it's the way you're saying
Some people
things.
fuck horses.
And some people probably fuck Twinkies, but that doesn't mean you can call a girl that. You told me I look like a corpse in the video about me.
Yeah. Well, you were laying in you were in a coffin. That one I feel like was fair game.
My eyes were just closed.
Yeah, it looked like you were in a coffin. I think that's funny. I did
You
say.
called someone a beach whale.
I think I said it looked like I think it was about you. It looks like you just washed up on the beach.
Yes, exactly. So don't rationalize that as you thought I was a beautiful mermaid.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, you're right. It was, but like maybe does it get an exemption for being funny?
I think Keemstar thinks he's being funny.
Right.
So. Who did I pick on that battle when Keemstar and you guys were going at it? I think I picked Keemstar. I think I was.
Oh yeah, that was
the winner.
I was like, what? I was like, you are such a fucking.
Yeah, I truly hated you, huh?
You're such like a Judas, how you flip flop between camps. I'm sure you'll be friends with Keemstar in a month from now.
Absolutely.
Being
not.
like,
no.
yeah, Ethan's fucking. I used to go to his house, and you'll start making up shit like, and he put a camera in his bathroom, and he used to just call me ugly when I was at his house, and I'll be like, yeah, Keemstar, you go.
Ethan told me there's a camera in his bathroom, and I'm like, I wouldn't put it past you. I feel like you low key are kind of pervy.
She kind of as a man. I'm kind of learning. I mean, I knew that it was prevalent, but I'm learning, and from reading and seeing all these experiences, it's insane how prevalent like SA is. Like it seems like the vast majority of women in their life experience being the victim of some kind of sexual violence.
Every woman I know, and I think back like 10 years ago, you wouldn't think it was like the stuff that is that you didn't think it was like. You thought if someone like tried to kiss you and you didn't want to and you said no, like that was totally fine. But like that's literally not, or like even sex, stuff like that. If you say, oh, I'm not feeling it, and they still like go in for it, it's like you don't realize it. But now like, I'm glad people are talking, but every single girl has definitely had it or someone they know.
It's just shocking to me because it's like, I just feel like we're not, as a society, like women are just, their whole sexual experience is so much different than men's, and it's been kind of like either swept under the rug or secret or just totally not, like men as a whole, as a gender, have not had the amount of sympathy or understanding of the female sexual experience.
Yeah.
It's shocking to me.
Ethan started to think more about the comments he had made about women like Tana Mojo, and even though he had originally good intentions with the Instagram vs. reality video, just simply making fun of women maybe wasn't the way to go about it. Again, with that like that difficulty with trying to be funny but also communicate something that is kind of wholesome, to say that like, you know, we're all kind of like ugly in a way, and that as a human you can't Photoshop like your feelings, your heart. But then just making fun of women was not the way to go about it, and was just kind of ended up being demeaning. And let's also remember that Ethan believed Trisha point blank when she told him about her childhood teacher allegedly sexually abusing her. Going through the whole David Dobrik expose had Ethan realizing just how prevalent sexual assault and the woman's experience with SA was as a whole. Trisha herself even said Ethan is more of a feminist.
He studied the arts of squirting.
I liked Mike. At one point, I really liked Mike. Like, I thought it was cool that he talked about sobriety. I read his book. I liked it. I was like always really supportive of him. Like, I'm like so confused by all of this. I'm like,
He hates me because everybody does. All these bros do.
I don't hate you.
No, not you. I'm saying all these frat boy dudes hate me because I always shit on them.
Because you're more of a feminist.
Ethan has been outspoken about how he thinks of marriage and divorce, and that it's more than fair if a woman has been with you when you were poor, but divorces you when you became wealthy for whatever reason, she deserves some of that money just because she was there for you.
Have a prenup.
Of course not. They've been married 30 years.
Well, I mean, he was already extremely wealthy
I
when
don't
they got
like
married.
these prenup conversations. Like, people are like, oh, Bill Gates is such an idiot. He didn't get a prenup. It's like, I'm sorry. They've been married 30 years. They have 3 kids. She's been working her ass off to support this fucking guy. She deserves half. I'm sorry.
That'd be like if someone's like, oh my God, you guys didn't get a prenup. You're like, oh, we had no money, so.
Yeah, it's like, of course, why would? But like, she's been there for 30 years supporting his fucking ass, you know?
Yeah.
If prenups make sense in some situations, but in their situation, it didn't make sense.
Who cares? You can't spend that much money anyways in your lifetime. It's like, whatever, take it, bitch.
Yeah, he's like, I don't even fucking notice.
But that's what I would say with her too. I'd be like,
again, I have a really hard time labeling Ethan Klein as just straight up like a misogynist. And another thing is just like, I feel like there hasn't been any concrete examples linking Ethan in 2025, 2026 as being a misogynist.
Can I put forth a potentially, I don't know, sexist question?
Sure.
But like, is this a story that should be presented by a man?
I've certainly 100% thought about that, and I agree with you.
Like, let a woman tell this story. The writer and director. He's
not writer.
He did the screenplay, right?
No, a woman named Christy did this.
But this is his project. Okay.
I mean, he could.
But it's
yeah.
Where his mom was abused, or sister, or best friend.
True. He also
it has to be a woman telling.
It seems like it's very much like it's just so much a woman's experience and perspective.
But the book is already written. He's like adapting it, right?
Right. He's just directing.
Well, that's a big. I mean, that's a big. It's a big.
I think in that situation, I think a woman should do it. But if a guy does, I think it's better to have like a team of women writers as well. And I feel that way for every movie. Star Wars, I'm like,
I just don't really see what the link is here, and no one is going about reporting on this in an in-depth kind of way. So, I guess that's the video. Do you think Ethan Klein is a misogynist, or do you think he's just had misogynistic or sexist moments? I mean, I guess something could be said that like, oh, you know, at this age, you should know better, yada yada yada, but I think at the end of the day, if you like a content creator, you're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. You're going to say, well, you know what, we're always learning, we're always growing, and if there's a content creator you don't like, you're going to say that they should have known better, they should do better, they could do better, they should never have happened in the first place. And I think to end the video, it's just one of those things where human bias is just, it's always going to be there, you know? I think that, what do you do about it? I don't really know what you do about it, to be honest. I think that just being aware of it is good. And I think even for me, having to come to terms with that, the fact that there are some people out there who I think rehabilitated their image just fine, and I still have biases against them, and that's just kind of how it is. I don't think it's the end of the world, and I think if other people like those people, then I'm not going to be upset about it, but I guess it's just one of those things where my personal wishes and experiences and feelings is kind of making a conflict in there. So that's why I say, I don't tell you to like Ethan, I'm not going to tell you to like Trisha or hate anyone. I don't think anyone should really be hated. I think that it's just like human beings, we're complicated. You know, I think Trisha's a complicated human being, and there's definitely more that could be said about a lot of stuff with her. But at the end of the day, I think like through action, she is, you know, changed. And I think at the end of the day, people would just like it if things were amicable between everybody, but I don't think it's going to be that way. But that's what I think. So that's my closing thoughts. Now, have a good day, everyone. Bye.